Like, imagine if Tomlin and Bill Cowher were both the head coaches of the Pittsburgh Steelers, same time. Like, imagine that. Like, how would that work out? Who has final play? Who has final say on play calls? Who has final say on do we go for it or not?
Who's calling timeouts?
Right. I mean, not going to work.
I mean, Shanahan reached out to Belichick to be the defensive coordinator. That would have been the worst decision of Shanahan's career.
That's what I'm saying.
Then if they finally win, it was all Belichick.
I mean, think about it.
So you guys do not believe that two big talented people can work together? No big talented people have self-awareness about how it is that they would collaborate with someone else who might have strengths in other places that they don't have.
It's why I'm here.
Why are you here? And you haven't been recently.
I mean, I was traveling.
I know, but like, why? Explain to me. You're here
balance Dan out
to offer the accents.
You're getting caught up in the minutia because I'm not a ball hog. I'm totally fine if I go an entire hour without saying a word here. Put you with somebody else who's not me, and I have a lot of fear of what's going to happen there. You know?
So you think that
way too much David, by the way. I came in here thinking Greg Cody was going to be here. Greg Cody Tuesdays. I left 5-6 weeks ago, and it was Greg Cody every Tuesday, and now we replaced that with who's asking for more Sampson?
Wow.
Nobody is the answer.
Wow, man.
Love you, Dave.
Let's go out to David Sampson
again
in the NASDAQ room where we get an update on everything going on with the NASDAQ. What do we have, David? Give us an update from the bustling floor of the NASDAQ.
We have extreme wealth creation that's been taking place other than in Stugotz's account. The reality is that whether you're Elon Musk or just your general retail investor, you've taken advantage of what could be a dead cat bounce. We'll have to wait to see. But meanwhile, Tesla, up. DraftKings, up. Market, yeah.
A dead cat. Yeah, that was disgusting. A dead cat bounce. I've not heard that expression before.
That is an expression that's often used on Wall Street. The dead cat bounce. How does a dead cat bounce? I ask. Not very high, but it does bounce. If you drop a cat and it's dead, it will come up and then right back down. In a market, do not buy the dead cat bounce because then you end up in trouble.
Chris Cody, were you as disturbed as I was after Stugotz gave voice to Who Wants More Sampson for him to go that lecherous with the making of money, where his sound was sensual in a way that creeped us out and made me think about about 10 days ago when him and Juju had that germ phobe off. I was disturbed by how eager David Sampson was to have an orgy, as disturbed as I was by anything David Sampson has said or done since he mispronounced boobs in Spanish.
Tetas?
You were disturbed by this, yes, Chris?
Incredibly.
It was unpleasant to hear it.
I don't know where it came from.
Well, it's just money. Money makes him lecherous. Money gives him a boner. Like that's
Tetas?
Dan.
Moaner.
Chris.
Money excites him in a way that is pornographic and disturbing when he goes to lecherous. What else do you have for us in the 2 hours now that the NASDAQ has been open?
Going back to him, huh?
You keep saying NASDAQ. Do you mean the exchange? Because there's NASDAQ, there's the Dow, there's the S&P, there's the small cap, large cap, mid cap. I don't understand your infatuation with NASDAQ. Is that like the only thing you've heard of?
It's not necessary at this point to keep pointing that out as if I'm not doing it on purpose. Like I wasn't at the beginning, but since then I'm doing it. I learned my lesson and then ignored it. So what other updates do you have here? Because people have been panicked for 3 days, and Stugotz is saying that Trump is now walking around being like, told you it'd be fine. I told you there are no problems here.
That's what we should be scared about, actually, is the possible grift that could be taking place. Just be aware of it when you're in the market, when you're day trading. It's why you shouldn't be buying and selling on these dips or on these crests, because any rumor about delaying the tariffs, any rumor about the possibility of a trade war not escalating and the market goes up, then the White House comes out and says, no, it's actually happening, the market goes down. Then there's something priced in and the market goes up. It's very hard to really guess what Trump is doing, and that's why it's really difficult. My professional advice, not investment advice, be very careful buying these dips. Be very careful selling into these crests because you may not time it right.
I think you owe me and the public an apology for the lie that you told last hour when you said that I was lamenting and complaining loudly that a bunch of people were sucking at my teat. That is not something that has ever happened. You have never heard me say such a thing, and I say that you need to apologize publicly.
Yeah. I will apologize, Dan, by saying that you've built an entire room built on extortion and people who extort you. That's basically the company that you have. So while, yes, I shouldn't have said teat, and I apologize for not pronouncing tetas right, but for you to say that I'm wrong when all you have to do is look around, it just means that your eyes are closed.
You guys aren't paying very much attention if you don't think that you were just taken out there. Like, you guys were all...
David's here for free, huh?
I resemble that remark.
He called you extortionist.
Yeah.
And
I'm all right with that.
Takes one to know one, I guess.
Wow. Talk about it after the show.
Yeah.
Got a multi-billion-dollar sale I'd like to run by him.
The thing that I wanted to ask you guys about that I'm assuming you didn't talk very much about, although I don't know if you have or not, the firing of Taylor Jenkins in Memphis, super strange. Like, you never see that 9 games before a playoff team is beginning in, right before the playoffs start. You're throwing total upheaval from a team that we thought a couple of years ago was going to be ascendant, and I got wrong, by the way, how good Dylan Brooks is. Like, I really thought that his career was going to be over, and to see him on a Houston team that's better than Memphis is part of why it is that Taylor Jenkins got fired the way that he did. But I also wanted to ask you, because I don't want to talk about the stupidity of the Ja Morant, or Ya, as I like to call him, finger gun stupidity. But I did want to ask you guys, when he hit a game winner over Khalil Ware and called him a pigeon, said that I had a pigeon guarding me and it was time to win the game and I got a bucket. I had never heard that expression before, calling someone a pigeon, nor do I know what it means, not just in the context that he was using it, but why a pigeon? Did you guys understand the insult of that? Did anyone, am I the only one not having heard that as an insult? I've never heard it in a post-game interview. Somebody hit a game winner and say that a 20-year-old 7-footer who is wildly athletic and can guard a lot of people but cannot, he wouldn't have said that of Bam, I don't think. But he did say it of Khalil Ware, and I'm just curious, had you guys heard that as an insult before?
Never heard it before, but it's definitely the low-end bird, right? We can all agree. Like, it's no hawk, it's no eagle.
It is. It's a dumb bird as well. But can you look it up for me as
It's
an
referenced
insult?
in hockey more often.
Would you be kind enough?
I looked it up after. I wasn't even aware that it was in hockey vernacular, and then I also was like, what does this mean? Did he just invent a new insult? Because that's kind of cool. But apparently, guys who aren't really worth much are called pigeons in hockey, and I guess it's common use for vernacular across all sports.
Synonymous with a peasant.
Right. Also, pigeons could be easily fooled or cheated, Dan. Often victims. Know your birds.
I heard it one time, and it was the response to "I don't want no scrubs." That song from TLC. I don't want no pigeons. It was that.
Oh, you're gonna sing it. I was excited for a second.
I'm not singing.
What's a scrub?
I forgot.
I almost got you. A scrub is a
Roy.
guy who thinks he's fine. Also known as a buster.
Come on, Roy, do it.
I almost got you. You wanted to. You saw. You saw what I was trying to do.
I'm not doing it.
Come on, you almost took it.
Wanted to ask you about an interview that Carlos Alcaraz, I pronounce it the way that they would in
Alcaraz.
Barcelona.
Alcaraz.
Alcaraz. He is now the second or third ranked player in the world, and he did an interview with GQ Spain in which he said he was talking about mental health, and we've talked about some of this before with Marty Fish and just the insanity that is the lonely obsessive compulsiveness of specifically playing tennis, that from a young age, whatever it is, tennis, swimming, there are some
Golf.
sports that I recall. Well, but
There's a loneliness to golf.
Yeah, and there's a great deal of guys struggling over mental hurdles in golf as well.
Yes, but I also think of golf, and I may be doing this incorrectly, I think of golf as being something that people really enjoy and do into their 60s, and might be a suffering because it's hard and can be lonely as well, but generally I think that people love what they're doing when they're golfers. I cannot say the same about tennis. Especially young people who have their childhood stolen by tennis because of how crazy the machine is at the beginning.
I'm shocked at how few tennis players that I know like tennis. They hate it. They like golf. They hate tennis. I try to talk to them about tennis. They don't want to talk about tennis. They don't like it.
It is a thing that I have noticed. Swimming is the same, right? Because when you're as good as Michael Phelps, there's a loneliness in the training that even if it's a team sport communally, the repetition of what it is that you're doing, you can grow to hate it. But the thing that Carlos Alcaraz said, and again, it's
Alcaraz.
awkward. Well, it's not, but it's
Alcaraz.
You guys are putting the Z
You're
on
American.
it. This just happened to me in Los Angeles. Everyone there calls it Los Feliz. And I'm like, it's Los Feliz. And they're like, no, it's not. And they've changed it. They've changed it so they don't pronounce Los Feliz. They've made it Americanized.
Why don't you call it Los Angeles?
I should.
Yeah, California is very famous for Americanizing Spanish words out there.
He says that he's prioritizing his mental health, and he doesn't particularly care about whether he's the best in the world or not. He says, I was number 1 in the world, and I was happy, and now I'm number 3 in the world, and I'm equally happy. And he's just giving voice to balance. And my question to you is this something that you guys understand? Because it's almost never uttered by athletes where it's like, I'm good being in third place. I don't need to be first.
I'm not saying it's the case for all tennis players or all, golf players, but they only care about the majors in those sports. And as long as you're winning majors, and he's competing, he's making it to the finals, he's winning the actual majors, they don't care about the rest. I'm not saying everyone. I'm just saying I could see where Alcaraz is like, you know what? I'll be ready for the majors. I'll compete in the majors. I don't care if I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I'm going to take my time the rest of the.
But that's not what he's saying. He's speaking to the mental health imbalance of I need to be the best. I need to compare myself against others. Look, this one.
Dan, I'm just saying the best in that sport is defined by the amount of majors you win. Period.
Is he practicing fewer hours? Is that what you say?
He did
to be
follow
3?
up. He did follow up an Indian Wells final appearance, which he always performs well there, with a loss to a 34-year-old Dave Goffin in Miami in the round of 64. It was a perplexing loss, and those comments. I mean, Alcaraz has an opportunity to be all-time great, given his age, given the success that he's already had, and typically in that sport, guys that have that in front of them, they don't get quoted saying things like that. They often say the opposite. Like, if Wawrinka wanted to say that when he was doing his best to get up to that upper echelon and guys like Roddick, Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer were holding him down, I guess I understand. I'm playing against 3 of the greatest of all time in my era. That's unfortunate. But Alcaraz, he's the best going right now in terms of tools, in terms of athleticism. It's either him or Monfils. Those are 2 of the most athletic tennis players I think we've ever seen.
He's fine with third. Wait till he gets down to 12th or 13th. He's not going to be so happy.
but-
And it's coming soon.
Well, let's talk about this for a second, because I will say to you that something that I have noticed later in life that was not so for me earlier in life is that I have had turned upside down the nobility in being competitive. It was something that at one time in my life was important to me. What are you making faces about?
Because you are
before?
competitive.
No,
You're
listen.
still competitive.
No, listen. Yes, but less so. And I've seen the nobility in it less. And I've worked toward, you can make all the faces you want, but I know the work I'm doing here. I know how I feel about this. And I'm vastly less competitive than I used to be by leaps and bounds. And also, I've noticed the specific mental health challenges in social media and always comparing yourself to somebody who you think is having something better as a life than you. I think this is affliction that is tormenting a lot of people with the disease that is the addiction of social media. And so when he articulates something that in sports is viewed as wrong, bad, I don't care about being the best. I have stopped seeing the nobility in having to be better than person X. I'm number 3 now, and I'm equally happy to when I was number 1. It's an articulation I have not heard said publicly by athletes. I've heard it said privately, but this is someone who's actively choosing to tell you, my happiness is more important to me than this thing that makes me so competitive that it makes me unhappy. And I'm going to choose happiness over being the best. It's usually not something that people want from their athletes. And furthermore, it's not something that can be said in team sports. It's only something that can be said out loud if you're an individual, because your teammates will not acknowledge that that's the way to be.
I'm not even sure how well that flies amongst his contemporaries in that sport. Many of them wishing that they had those tools. Yeah. And if he had the will, he obviously has an opportunity to be all-time great. I mean, he's already borderline all-time great.
He's already there, Mike, yes.
Yeah, I heard those quotes and I was like, good for him. He is not catching Djokovic.
Yeah, no, he's lying.
It's either two choices. Either he's lying or he's going to burn out like Carlene Bassett. And whatever he does, it doesn't really matter to me, because when that weakness that you show by saying that, I'm not saying you shouldn't go after mental health.
I don't think that's weakness.
I don't think
he's showing weakness.
What he's saying is he doesn't have to put in the work, and yet when he gets to the U.S. Open and he takes on Sinner or Zverev, who are ranked ahead of him, he's going to beat them. And you know what? If you had an amount of money that meant something to you, you would bet on Alcaraz. You would.
I wouldn't be so sure he's beating them, but I would say that he's about to head into his best surface. It's clay court season, so I imagine he's going to be doing some sort of winning here, but that is something that you kind of file away as he gets later in his career. Look, the longevity that the guys at the top end of that sport displayed, where your career historically is usually over 10 years before they were still doing. Djokovic is still out here showing up in finals, doing his things, beating Alcaraz in the Olympics. Like that is something that you file away and wonder if he has the same kind of motivation. He may be motivated by winning in individual sports, but it doesn't sound like he's motivated by being all-time great.
Mike, towards the end, wasn't Federer just gearing up for the majors? Like, was barely playing and just gearing up and still winning the majors?
Well, Tiger did that too. It's normal.
Yeah, and being ultra-selective with the surface as well.
The thing that's most interesting about it to me is to place in front of the audience this idea. Unhappier means better? Because the way you guys are doing the math on this, he's articulating that he cares less about winning than the people trying to beat him. And you're then making the leap after that lack of care will be the difference between him winning and losing. And I'm not certain that's so. I'd make the argument that a happier player can play longer, that a happier player is less likely to burn out, that a happier player will be someone who can climb from 3 to 1 because he's less pressurized than the player who is dying to be number 1.
I mean, well, you cited Marty Fish, and that documentary on Netflix shows you exactly what it took in terms of skill set, physical attributes. He didn't have what those guys in that era had, but he beat them individually, and he'll admit in that documentary it made him lose his mind, what he had to dial it up to get to that point. I'm sure the guys that he were going up there up against were probably a little bit more balanced, certainly by comparison, but the mental edge in that sport is one of the places that you do make up what we're talking about sometimes is razor thin margins.
You're also arguing something that's kind of impossible, right? What's making him happy is not having that edge and not pushing himself to be the best. And by not pushing himself to be the best, he'll be looser and be the best.
This is such an old argument. Where does the greatness make you crazy? Do you have to cut off your ear in order to be great? Are all artists out of their mind? My view is that if you have not won, then you don't realize that winning is everything. And if you have won, you do know that. And if you feel you can't win again, your defense mechanism comes up and you say to yourself, hey, the effort, it's just the juice is not worth it anymore. There's too much squeeze. For him to come out at this age and say it, it sounds like a pre-baked excuse. And for me, when you have a chance to be the best and you blow it, and I've seen it with team sports and athletes all the time, they have such great physical skills, but they don't have the head the strength to be the best.
But this is the part that's interesting to me, and it's the most interesting part, because when you say mental toughness and they don't have the head, what you're presently saying is to be the best, you almost have to be mentally unhealthy. And
yes.
Neil Brennan makes the argument, what are you talking about with mental health and Michael Jordan? He was crazy. What are you talking about with mental health and Tom Brady? He was crazy. You have to be singularly obsessed to the detriment of all other things. You have to be totally lopsided. And my question is, do you? Because you're showing me a tennis player right now that you're making the argument is next on everything that we've learned about Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic are nuts. The three of them are singularly obsessed with something, and they competed against each other and understood each other, and in some ways became friends and rivals that had a specific language that only they spoke. But this person is saying to you, and I think it's a healthier attitude, I don't know if it's a more successful attitude in terms of results, but the skill set we're talking about here, are you guys arguing that in order to be great, you have to be mentally unhealthy?
I guess it's people's approach. Like the three names that are atop that sport all time, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, one of them seems decidedly less happy than the other two. It also just so happens to be the guy that's atop the heap in Djokovic. So I don't know exactly what to do with that. We don't really know these guys. I'm sure there are plenty of people that have lined up against Roger Federer that would tell me, are you kidding? He's a killer. But Djokovic, from being Joe sports fans, seems like he's the most obsessive of the bunch.
We've seen it work in golf. Like Brooks Koepka has said, I only care about the majors. He's playing on the LIV Tour. He doesn't want to play all the other tournaments. He wants to show up to the majors, and when he does, he's in contention. Masters Week, Dana.
I have told you guys before, and I will tell you again, go do some reading on Nadal and his foot injuries and what his retirement and his life is going to be like as a person who has an arm that looks like a thigh that is larger than the other arm because of how obsessively he's sculpted something. And I believe that he would finish third in terms of both stature and caring to Federer and Djokovic. And I don't question how much Nadal cares. I'm just saying these three people competing against each other to be the best didn't seem to make them like real happy, that competition, but also they were great in a way that was all time. And I'm looking at what is being said here, and I'm like, man, that seems like a good life to be touring the world, enjoying tennis, and not being so obsessive that you have to feel all the time. Like, what is the value of being the best if you can make a really good living as a bronze medalist?
Well, by contrast, we know who the most miserable of those three is just by how they carry themselves on the court, and that's Djokovic. I do know who's the most balanced, who appears to be the happiest, and that's always it kind of feels like Nadal in terms of playing with joy, and Nadal is Alcaraz's mentor. Like they played doubles in the Olympics together. Like if anyone knows what it's like to be in those shoes, it's Nadal.
What are you doing, David?
I'm so upset to hear anybody say, you know what I really want, man? I want the bronze. That's how you get up in the morning?
I want joy, not bronze. I want joy.
You just said if joy and bronze go together, you'll take the joy with the bronze.
He's also 21. Like he's going to be looked as someone that peaked at a very young age and didn't live up to expectations. He could possibly be viewed, if his career goes down because of this seeking joy and not wanting to win, as kind of a bust.
He won't be viewed at all.
He could be an all-time. He could be an all-time great that found joy and balance in his life while becoming an all-time great.
Well,
it could be that.
Great. And ended up ranked 3 majors, 5 majors, 8 majors.
He's got 4
12.
majors. He's 21. Who do you think will be the favorite when they get to the U.S. Open this year?
How many women's players have resigned and stopped at 25, 26, 27 because it was too much? Go down the list.
Yeah, loads. I mean, not guys that were considered all-time great, maybe. Also, the sports science has changed a lot. I will say that, as much as, and I'm an advocate for mental health and not being consumed by something, and I know by being consumed by work how unhealthy that made me and how unhappy that made me. I also know what my output was at the time that I was losing my mind, and I'd stack that output up against a lot of different people. When Alcaraz has a quote like that, I wonder if, well, maybe he's not motivated by being all-time great. I think he's motivated by winning these tournaments right now and maybe arguably being the best of his generation. Those are just not the conversations we were having a couple of months ago.
And we'll wait and see what happens. I'm referring to what Dan is. I can't imagine you're actually proffering this, where you would trade attempting to get nothing but bronze on the thought that that would make you the happiest. The only people who feel that way are people who can't get gold. No one starts an Olympic training to say, oh, man,
You say
want
the only
bronze.
people who feel that way, and yet I'm offering you an example of somebody who doesn't feel that way. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm presenting you an example of someone who is saying, I'm choosing joy over having to be the best, and those two things don't necessarily exist together, the being the best and the joy. That the idea that there has to be some misery in this, or all misery in this, in the competition. Look, I mentioned this the other day with Klay Thompson leaving Golden State, and he was talking about, I didn't get to enjoy any of it. I wasn't enjoying that while I was doing it because people were chasing me, and I forgot to enjoy it. Klay Thompson's an all-time great, but is mad that he's not in the top 75 all-time. I don't know if all-time legacies are actually something that create joy or not, or if it becomes like Tyson Fury does. He becomes heavyweight champion, 100 years of bare-knuckle fighting in his family. He thinks he's arrived at his dreams, and what happens when he gets there? Cocaine, and he gains 100 pounds because the top of it didn't feel as joyous as he thought it was going to feel.
But like counterpoint, how joyful is Klay Thompson in Dallas right now?
Yep.
I don't know the answer to that as someone who appreciates, I don't know how much he's appreciating the end of his career because he can see it from here in a way that he did not in Golden State. That experience in Golden State didn't seem so joyous given that Draymond Green is punching teammates and Kevin Durant wanted to get out of there.
They were winning titles.
They
That's
were winning,
fun.
but I agreed. But I told you that when I sat down with Mike Miller and Udonis Haslem, they said that those 4 years, not fun. Not fun. Winning was fun, but the doing of it was not joyous. The having done it was joyous.
Wow. It's so annoying to me to hear them talk that way. Not fun. We had 4 years. We had the 3 best players. We were a juggernaut. We won 2 titles, 4 trips to the finals. But, man, it just wasn't fun.
Did Michael Jordan look happy to you?
There was only one time Michael Jordan ever looks happy, and it's at a track. It's the weirdest
No,
thing.
how about after he won the title each year?
Yeah, like when he got to the very top of the mountain. Yeah,
Steph Curry seems,
That was relief, Dave.
Steph Curry's a great
Steph
example.
Curry-
Looking for it for greatness.
Steph Curry to me seems like I've been trying to think back here of like an all-time great that we look at, like that's a happy guy. Seems like he has good work-life balance.
I'm actually
We don't know the
curious.
athletes.
I'm curious. Well, we don't know those athletes because the way that it's covered and those guys being so alone.
There's
I would
no
love-
way, incidentally, that Steph Curry has that shot and work-life balance. Like that, whatever he did to create that shot,
not so certain.
that was not a balanced human
Seems
being.
so easy
Seems
for him.
present. He seems present.
He's pretty good at golf. Pretty damn good at golf too. So I think he's working on that craft as well. There's a podcast called Nothing Major, and it's for tennis players that have never won a Grand Slam. And I would love to see if they chewed on this topic because there are guys that probably drove themselves crazy, especially in that sport, trying to get themselves to a couple of feet away from where Carlos Alcaraz is presently on the totem pole. And they probably hear quotes like that as guys that probably obsessed trying to beat guys like him, wondering, what are you doing with that kind of attitude? If I had your talent, I'd be shooting for the stars, and it doesn't sound like Carlos is.
So there's a ton of baseball players who do that, where they look at guys who are so skilled, but they don't stay in the big leagues because they don't have the head for it. And what someone says, Jeff Conine says this about his own son.
Niner.
My God, if I had Griffin's talent, I'd be in the Hall of Fame.
But when you say don't have the head for it, is it because they have to accept the idea that it's going to be miserable? That they have to accept the idea that it's going to be less fun, less joyful, less fulfilling than it would be to just finish third.
Boy, it's easy to be mediocre. You don't have a lot of stress and mediocrity.
Third's not mediocre.
Yes, it is.
No, third is not mediocre. Third
The
place.
bronze is mediocre.
Being the third best tennis player in the world
Mediocre.
is not. No.
But
So
David,
everything after first is mediocre, David?
But it's
If
not
you're
as-
Carlos Alcaraz and you're seated third, you are failing.
He
He's
doesn't
got the
care. The
talent to
world
be first.
ranking
I'm
means
not saying he
nothing
doesn't
to
care.
him.
You're missing what I'm saying.
It's not as rewarding. I mean, for all we know that Wawrinka, at the peak of his powers, might have been the 4th greatest tennis player ever, in any generation. And we don't know it because of the era that he played in and the guys that he was going up against.
The French Open's coming up in May. Alcaraz is the favorite.
It's clay.
It's surface.
I don't care what it is. He's the favorite to win a major.
David, why?
That'll make him happy.
It's clay. You're right, though. It's a good point.
Why
It's a different sport on clay.
Why are you assuming that he's lying? He's telling you, I'm equally happy at number 3 as I am at number 1. And you're
I never
saying,
said he was lying.
well, you're saying
I'm saying that's not how I would want to surround myself with athletes or with artists or with people who excel at what they do. They acknowledge that they're paying a price. Of course they're paying a price.
You're saying that this person is mediocre when this person is better at what he does than any of us in this room are at anything that we have ever tried.
That's
Heard
absolutely.
him host a football podcast.
You ever see me do a puzzle?
Are you a good puzzler?
You're
No.
you're the third.
Here he is. See you, Dave.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for lying.
Is that for Alcaraz?
Get out of here,
Clay
Samson.
Thompson.
And I know Billy mentioned him, but he is 21 years old. It's an interesting quote to hear at 21.
majors.
I mean, what do you know? What do you know about this? I know you know what it is to be like really good at this. Do you really know what makes you happy at 21? I can't
At
even get inside my own
27,
head when I
he
was
can
21.
regret his feelings at 21.
No doubt.
As time and his abilities have passed him by.
He might regret that approach if he's saying right now at 21. At 21, I was going to 12 311 concerts a year. What do I know?
I believe that this entire group of people talking about this have aged out on what people his age, their relationship with work in general. It's very different.
1000%.
From it's like wildly what a 21-year-old is looking at in terms of mental health and happiness is far more balanced than the workaholics who have come before him, who have dominated sports. And Samson's giving a perspective that is a grandfather's generation removed from what that thinking process is. And I believe his thinking process is healthier than all of the ones that came before it, even if it doesn't result in championships. And I'm not arguing that it won't result in championships because of what the skill level is to even be the number 3 ranked tennis player in the world.
But that's like a generalization that gets thrown around a lot, right? Like the youngest people are so lazy now. They don't want to work hard.
I said
they have a bad
I said a
balance of
healthier
work and
I said
happiness.
a healthier relationship with work. I didn't say unhealthier. I'm not calling him lazy. He's not lazy. He's not in any world lazy.
I think Dan's saying it's kind of a smart strategy, and he's interested to see if it works.
I don't know if it's a smart strategy, but choosing happy's not a bad strategy.
I know that was a really weird loss that he just got at the Miami Open.
I wasn't happy.
I mean, it's that sport.
He doesn't lose that match at the U.S. Open, though, Mike, and you know that. And there's a fine by majors, not by world rankings. Why would he care about that?
He does have more random losses than the guys that he's generally judged against, and I know that stuff happens. But there isn't a sport, I think, for my money, in all of athletics that tests your mind, body, and spirit quite the way that one does. I guess you could say MMA, but in terms of like the mental aspect of the game, those tennis players are so in their own head that you could look at it as like, this is a refreshing quote, but honestly, you can look at it and say, good for you, but I don't think you're going to be all-time great because you think that way.
And that's the link that I'm sort of putting in front of all of you. Are we sure? Can you be the greatest ever if you're not obsessed with being the greatest ever?
I look at Mensik saying, oh, he's crafting himself exactly like Djokovic. I'm like, that guy's next. Now, those come around a dime a dozen. There's always guys that make a deep run, and then you're judging a teenager, and you wonder what they're going to be. But if I'm looking at what I know about their makeup and who they pattern their game around and how obsessive they appear, after seeing a quote like that, if I had to bet on one person making a run at all-time great status, it'd probably be someone like Mensik right now.
I really do wonder in the evolution generationally of all this stuff that is happening and how it is that young people interact with work and greatness, how many more Simone Biles type of things you're going to end up seeing that you've never seen before because younger people know how to choose themselves over some of their parents and their grandparents' pasts on what it is that greatness required. I know that, David, you're continuing to make faces in here because
I'm not making faces. I'm talking.
Well, but let's examine this for a second. You are obsessed with being the best.
Yes.
How happy does it make you?
Not. but I'm not searching to be happy. I'm searching to be the best. I'm competitive in everything I do. I want to be the best, and I'll work as hard, if not harder than everyone to do it. And it may not work, but you can bet your ass I'm not trying to be third best.
Right, and I can bet my ass also that you're not as happy.
But you're not happy either.
Got your ass there. He's had a couple of bars. I think in retrospect, like maybe what makes him happy, what he can hang his hat on was like, well, when I dialed myself up to a certain point, I was the best. And you can look at that fondly, despite maybe even not really liking yourself during that time. I'm really proud of the work that I had when most people didn't like me. I was putting out really high-end art for my career, and even though I wasn't right and I alienated a lot of people, I was also operating at a really high level. And with some distance on that, I'm like, I can change that thing, I can change that. But when people look at my run as a producer, and granted, this is nothing like the level of Carlos Alcaraz, I'm like most proud of the era in which I was the worst version of myself.
It is a hole, though, David, that doesn't get filled by accomplishment when you continue to accomplish and it doesn't feel like enduring happy. It's what I'm saying about Tyson Fury. You've got 100 years of your family bare knuckle fights in the street, and you become heavyweight champion of the world. And what you immediately do after that is gain 100 pounds and develop a cocaine addiction because the fulfillment doesn't actually fill the hole.
I'm always bailing water, and so are most people. And that's what we do. That is the life we choose. You can go live on the beaches in Australia in the van.
But you wouldn't.
But I wouldn't. I'll tell you that right now. But I could. A little early.
You couldn't do it, dude.
You couldn't do it. You wouldn't be competing against anybody. You'd just
be the best pot smoker on the lot.
You'd be in a van, and all you'd lead the world in is self-loathing. You'd be better.
I do that now.
You'd be better, but you'd do it even more if you didn't feel like you were that you were accomplishing.
I would like to beat Cheech and Chong in a van down by the river.
No, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't last a day.
It also wasn't Cheech and Chong.
That was Chris Farley.
Yeah, that's
No,
fine.
I mixed them both. Cheech and Chong, the van,
Yes.
the pot, the smoke.
Yes, but the van by the river is Chris Farley's.
Chris Farley.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. We're agreeing, man.
Mixing my
Shit, get off my
metaphors.
back, dude. Maybe take a hit.
I like you.
Be happy.
From game night to parties with friends or special anniversary, celebrating important occasions means more moments with the coolest people in your life. Cheers to 50 years of Miller Lite, the great tasting light beer for people who love beer since 1975. Now's a perfect time to celebrate legendary stories with friends, family, and a great tasting light beer. It's Miller time. When I think of Miller Lite, I think of me and my dad cheersing, watching a Marlins game on a cruise together. We get the tsk-tsk-ah and the cheers. It's just, when I think of Miller Lite, I think of times with my dad, times with family and friends. It's the original light beer since 1975, still iconic 50 years later. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Eager to get to Juju Gotti and what he has to say about today's show. But before we do this, I've been negligent today in not talking about two giant losers in college baseball. We have two losing streaks that are colliding in minutes here in an epic baseball game. Yeshiva has a 99-game losing streak that dates back to 2022, and they're facing Lehman. Lehman has lost 42 straight games since 2023. Now, unfortunately, Lehman is 17-0 all-time versus Yeshiva, and they average 15 runs a game. So Yeshiva seems to be a special kind of terrible. We bring in our loser correspondent, Jeremy, and I say that in the most loving fashion, to give us an update on this, a rare preview from us on this baseball game. What do you have?
Special expertise as a loser and a Jew with Yeshiva University.
You're
and I can
perfect.
bring you expertise on all of this. This is great, right? Because these are a
It's
bunch
actually
of
the
guys,
opposite of great. It's
Well,
the opposite.
What makes it great as a story is that these are a bunch of guys who just play for the love of the game. There's no like road to Omaha. There is not some special prize at the end of their college athletic career.
Bunch of
It's just,
Alcarazes.
I want to, that's exactly right. Guys who just love the sport and are there to continue to do it because these teams, these colleges are truly and utterly dreadful. You can watch it on laymanathletics.com. The first game of a doubleheader
Appropriately named.
starts at 155. So this is great because theoretically, Yeshiva could extend their losing streak to 100 and then snap it later in the day by splitting the doubleheader with Layman. But of course, Dan, you were wondering what conference are these teams in, and that's what's really important here. Of course, Layman is in the Cognac. I believe that's pronounced
I don't care about the
Cognac
conferences. There's no, of course.
And
I
of
don't
course,
care about the
Yeshiva
conference.
is in the Skyline Conference, more competitive, thus why they have a 99-game losing streak. But there's some fun facts here.
When you've
Obviously-
lost 99 in a row, you just go for that 100.
Yeah, you have to.
You
But
don't
then
win that 100th game.
But then you can snap it later in the evening,
That's
which
true.
is perfect. So they don't play on Saturday, obviously, because of Shabbat, which is why you have a Tuesday doubleheader here. This is my favorite. I read the bio of their head coach, Jeremy Renna. Jeremy Renna is a full-time retail senior executive and consultant, adjunct professor, high school baseball coach, investor, and executive mentor. He's currently the head coach of Yeshiva Baseball, bringing a strong sense of positive team building, clear accountability standards within the framework of Jewish tenets. It's amazing that everyone involved in this knows we're on the worst team in college athletics of any kind. And yet we're going to keep going out there and get our asses kicked game after game. Dan, the lowest single ERA by any player in Yeshiva University history, 5.36. Ooh.
I think I was recruited by Layman.
It seems like this manager is quite distracted, and if he would just focus on one team and
Maybe
one
they'd be
thing,
better.
maybe there'd be different results.
I just like looking at the difference in the rosters, Dan. If I read some names to you, I'm going to read some names to the group from one team and then the other, and you guys tell me which team you think would win this baseball game. So one team has players named Charlie Hernandez,
Oh,
Giancarlos Pujols,
I don't like this game.
Raniel Maldonado,
Let my boy cook.
I don't like this game.
I know where he's going with this.
and Argenis
This is
Sanchez.
a dangerous game.
And the bad team, come on,
And the
hit me.
other team
Nobody answer anything.
has Sammy Greenberg, Kobe Cohen, Noam Awanhu,
Sean Green.
Zvi Mochekchin, Jacob Weichbrat,
It's a trap.
AJ Zimbalist,
Don't do this.
and Zachary Goldberg. Dan, which team do you think
Don't
is
ask
going to win the
Dan.
baseball
Don't
game?
ask Dan.
Dan?
Thank
Ty?
you. I appreciate all your contributions to the show. You can also get out of the room. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
got it.
Let's bring
Can you
in
read that bio again about that coach?
Eli Zerdok and Samuel Weissman would like a word.
a known winner in Juju Gotti joins us now to celebrate winner last night in college basketball, winners over the weekend in UConn and Florida, great champions. Hello, Juju. What do you have for us in the way of analysis on the championships over the weekend?
What's going on, brother? I'm happy you made it back safely. You feel me? That's taken for granted these days on these airplane rides from coast to coast. Glad to see you made it back, you and your family. You feel me?
Thank you.
But yeah, great basketball over the weekend. Like you said earlier, the women's tournament. Hey, man, the UConn Huskies showed up and they showed out. They didn't make it entertaining at all what they did to South Carolina. It was an open shut book case on that one. And I was last night, you see me on representing today. You know, they say beside every good man is a great woman. And my woman, she put on a Matthew Kachuk jersey when my Florida Panthers won this year. She threw on the Jaylen Brown jersey whenever my Boston Celtics won. She actually went to the Eagles bar with me and threw on my cousin jersey for the Eagles, and she's a Bills fan for sure. And so today I'm representing her. She graduated from the University of Florida. It was crazy pandemonium in here last night. She was on I'm talking about eggshells the whole game. I think it was a good game. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm biased. But seeing those brothers come back from that deficit, if it wasn't for the first half of Richard, like they would have been in a lot of trouble. Because Houston, they smother their opponents. Like, you know what I mean? That's their MO. They smother the teams and they make it a boring game. They drag you out. And for them brothers to muster something up in that second half and get the job done, man, my baby was the happiest I've seen her since maybe we got together. So I'm representing for her today.
Billy, last night when we were with the winner of our March Madness tournament,
And Dan Ugla.
you pointed out that our less than beloved Ethan Badowski here in the other room has been wildly annoying as a Gator fan. It can't feel good as Miami people to see the Gators enjoying themselves this way.
No, well, he was equally as obnoxious when the Panthers won. But there were other people that were happy about the Panthers, so he got lost in the shuffle. But like we did discuss on the show yesterday, off air, do we want Houston to win or Florida? The show's in Florida. We live in Florida. And the consensus was, well, Ethan will be just so unbearable if they win.
Everybody on the show, Juju, seemed to want Houston to win, even though I thought Houston ruined the championship by knocking off Duke.
Yeah, I was so happy when they beat Duke because it's just something about seeing Duke. Like, I don't know, man. Like certain crops, and they don't give you enough time to fall in love with the players no more. They're one and done. And so I'm looking up and down Duke's roster. I'm not rooting for Con Knippel. If I'm being honest with you, I was so happy to see Houston win. And I thought that the game that happened last night, I was assuming it would be like that, but it was just overwhelming to see it happen in that scenario. And out there, if you know, like the brother who messed up the last two plays, Emmanuel Sharp, bro. If you know that man, that man's a family member of yours, reach out to him today, man, because he could use a lot of love. He gonna turn on his TV and see everybody saying how he did bad in those last two plays. If you love that man, reach out and let him know he is worthy, he is loved, and you got his back.
You did something there that I think has been happening throughout the tournament. You brought a delight to the cherubic face of Chris Cody by simply saying the name Con Knippel.
Yeah, it's great.
Right. I did not think that's how you said it when I read it. I went with the announcers. I was like, well, they call him Clay. I'm going to call him Clay.
His mama call him Knippel. I'm going to call him Knippel.
Yep.
What else do you have for us today from the conversation we have in terms of criticism from the audience, critique from the audience?
Oh, man. David Sampson in that last segment with Carlos Alcaraz, brother. Like, you my brother. I love you. You feel me? But some people define winning in different ways. Some people define winning as being able to provide for their family, being able to the first person to get their mom a new house, getting their parents out of a situation they've been in forever. Some people define winning as being an inspiration to people and just being a positive influence to someone who is just on the verge of giving up on themselves. We can't always take winning for like winning the game as, well, you're not good in life, because it's not a good way to be. You feel me? I understand that's how he is, and I salute and I love him, but he definitely can't have those takes wearing that shirt. You feel me?
Let's update some of the polls here. What were the best ones from today, or do you have anything more on that particular subject? Because I know that you are a very strong advocate for mental health here, and I it probably droned on too long, but I do find interesting the conversation of whether or not the striving to be the best is an active obstacle to real and true joy, because the two things can have trouble coexisting, especially if you don't get to be the best, but even if you get to be the best.
Right. Caitlin Clark didn't win the national championship. Newsflash. You feel me? And my sister Paige Beckers, she dealt with injuries that would have broken a lot of people. ACL, the same thing Juju going through right now. She dealt with an ACL injury on back-to-back years with UConn. Could have given up on herself because she wasn't the best in those years. It's just a testament to your character to be able to keep it going. Look at my brother Ovechkin. He been playing for the Nationals, but when they was ass. And now look at him in the spotlight, being able to break the great ones record. So I think it's just something that goes inside of your body. Don't give up on yourself just because you didn't win today or you lost yesterday. I think it's just a testament to the strong people out there. Just keep going no matter what.
Juju meant the Capitals, but the visual of Ovechkin being a Washington National baseball player is funny.
I also feel like those are pretty close to synonyms.
Oh, no, everyone knows exactly what he meant.
They're not, but it feels like they are.
It's also a pretty ridiculous time in tennis because of the era that we are still, I guess, because Djokovic is doing the thing, actively in. when Alcaraz gets asked about his greatness, it's not judged against his contemporaries, really, because one of his contemporaries is an all-time great. So we're doing this thing in tennis because sports science has evolved to a point we never thought possible with both men and women aging beyond what was thought to be their prime. It's like, well, are you going to be all-time great? It's kind of an unfair question and an unfair pressure to apply to these guys.
Let's update some of these polls, Juju. What do you got that was best today?
Is John Mulaney a sex symbol? 83% of the audience says no, he is not. Dang.
I don't think our audience gets to decide that one. I don't think I think our audience is predominantly male, and I think our audience isn't giving sex symbol to anybody.
Our audience is predominantly awesome as well, though. So salute to them. Is a tank street legal? 62% of the audience says no, they are not. Salute to Jay Leno.
Please put up that video again of Jay Leno. It is comical seeing him come into the picture on a street in a tank that's moving very slowly, attempting to parallel park. Chris Cody, are you trying?
I'm workshopping it. It's not good. No, it's not good.
No, let me see. Let me hear your Jay Leno. I know it's not good.
I'm just going down the street. I'm telling you, it's bad. I tried to workshop it a couple times back here.
Guys workshop it. I call them.
Sometimes
we're workshopping. And
his jaw expanded and he became his face. He was morphing into the character. He doesn't have the voice. Keep working on it. Juju, what else you got?
I don't think it's a coincidence either. The last time we saw Jay Leno, he was beat to shreds, and now he pull up in a tank like, yeah, try me now.
Seems to be healing.
Right. Does South Florida lead America in butt implants? 95% of the audience says, yes, you guys do. Dang. Would you fear getting a jaw implant? 87% of the audience says, yes, they would.
Thank you. I feel validated by our audience. Thank you, audience, for saying that my fear is okay to have. The specifics of a jaw implant, I fear it less than nose, than something with your teeth. I don't know that there's a place on my face that you could go. Maybe maybe LASIK I would fear the same way, even though I shouldn't. Go ahead, Juju. What else you got?
Does Dan love fear?
100%.
89% of the audience says, yes, you do. Salute to Mark Wahlberg. Was Tampa designed by someone who was drunk? Salute to my sister Lucy. 93% of the audience says yes. And which do you feel more safe in? A car driven by someone or a self-driving car?
Oh, this is an important one. Let's see what we got here.
81% of the audience says a car driven by someone they feel safer in. And those are your polls.
Juju, would or could you live in Sydney, Australia?
Oh, yes, I could live in Sydney, Australia.
But would you?
Would I? Absolutely. Oh, they got big insects and bats down under. Yes, I would to try to get out of here.
Sydney's not like that.
Right. It's been said that it's been called the Hollywood of Australia in certain circles. So yeah, I would live in Sydney. I lived outside and in the real deal streets for 6 months of my life. So yes, sir, Sydney, Australia, thumbs up.
All right. The outback is not Sydney, though. The things on land that can kill you in Australia, they're not. Sydney is not the place that you find those things, I don't think.
Right.
Awkward ending.
Sorry.
I'm glad you got that point across, though.
Thanks, Juju.
Thank y'all.
All right, see you later.